Hey guys, what's going on? Shah here, and today we are starting our new series where we will be talking about how to tank different bosses in Shadowlands, the strategies you're going to use, how you're going to use damage reduction cooldowns during the boss encounter, as well as trying to optimize your damage. Today we're actually going to start with a boss that has fairly little mechanics, but I feel like has been kind of a wall for a lot of players. We're obviously going to be starting in Sanguine Depths. Sanguine Depths is definitely a dungeon where most of the bosses are pretty much F tier just across the board. Like, they're really difficult. They do a lot of damage, especially on the tank and on the group as a whole. This is something that we're not really used to because coming out of BFA for the last, 2.5 years, we noticed that a lot of bosses were pretty much just, you would just kind of face tank them. You wouldn't really have to worry about too much outside of a couple outliers like Council of Captains in Freehold or maybe Flux Flame in Motherlode. So we're going to be starting off this series, again, like I said, in Sanguine Depths with Grand Proctor Beryllia. She is a boss that has very, very few mechanics, but can easily one-shot a tank if the tank is not prepared. So I'm going to quickly talk about exactly what is going on in this fight. So if you guys do enjoy the series, let me know by giving a like on this video, leave a comment below on your strategy for this boss, or let me know what boss you'd like to see next. I do plan on covering as many as possible with this series, but I will prioritize the ones that people are requesting. So let's take a dive into this quick video analysis guide. I am playing Guardian Druid in this video. I'm going to try to talk about what other cooldowns can be used, but if I miss yours, I'll be gladly to kind of talk about it in the comment section below. So we're going into this boss with a prideful buff. You don't have hero though. This is a fortified weak, so she's going to die a little bit faster, but the premise of the video is fairly the same. The spell queues are going to be the same. On Tyrannical, just she'll be alive a little bit longer with a little bit more damage. So this is a little bit, like I said, there's very few mechanics on this fight. There's a tank buster ability followed by various group damage. So 3 seconds into the fight, she's going to start casting Iron Spikes. This is a 2.5 second cast, and when this is going out, you as the tank not only need to have mitigation up, but you need to make sure you're using some kind of damage reduction cooldown. This does an insane amount of damage, but luckily it's physical, so it can be mitigated obviously with like high armor value. It can be blocked, and then obviously using like a big damage reduction for that. So in the case of the Guardian Druid, we're going to have to rotate a cooldown for each of these. So first and foremost, we're making sure that we have 2 stacks of iron for active. And following this, we're also going to be applying Barkskin. The reason I like to use Barkskin first is because Iron Spikes happens every 30 seconds. It's a 30-second interval. It's essentially going to be Iron Spikes, group damage, Iron Spikes, group damage. So you're going to have to rotate. Luckily, the trash before this boss is pretty lackluster, and you're not going to have to use too many defensives. So during this time, you're going to want to start pooling those, whether it's like a shield wall, whether it's metamorphosis, making sure your cheat deaths will be active, saving your trinkets. In this case, I'm using the blood splattered scale, which is down here, and you're going to want to start pulling these before the trash. And luckily, after this boss dies, you're going to have access to a damage reduction shield, so you don't really have to worry too much about your major. Iron Spike will do multiple hits during the channel, and then she's going to go right into this Rite of Supremacy cast. There we go. Words are hard today. So this is a 10-second channel, and once the channel finishes, it does an insane amount of group damage that if you don't have any kind of damage reduction up for, it will kill you. Now, luckily, she spawns orbs during this time. There's always going to be 15 of these golden orbs. Always 15, no more, no less. Sometimes they can spawn underneath her model, which you have to be you have to be looking out for. She can't move during this, so you have to just be watching. Each of these is going to give you a 20% damage reduction from this cast. In a perfect world, you'll all pick up 3. For this fight specifically, or for a pre-made group, depending on what composition you're running, you're going to want to rotate defensives for this. So we have every player pick up 3 to 4, and then we have some player use an immunity. Typically, the tank player will actually not have to pick up as many because obviously like a better health pool and or damage reduction cooldown. So Spell Reflect can be used for this. I don't think it will reflect the damage since it's AoE, but it is a 20% damage reduction on a very, very short cooldown. Spell Reflect is a cooldown you should be using as a warrior for some reason if you're playing warrior still. You have about 10 seconds to do this. So how my group is doing this is we're actually having our hunter is going to turtle the very first one. So I'm here, you'll see me trying to pick up as many orbs as possible. One thing that we didn't do well in this video specifically is we left orbs here. So there is an orb here still, and I think that was it. We had one orb right over here that we missed. You want to make sure you're grabbing all the orbs. This is a good time to use some kind of movement ability, whether it's Heroic Leap, Infernal Strike, Steed, or Stampeding Roar for your group to make sure they're getting as many orbs as possible, because they can spawn all over the room. And if in this case, they might be very far away for slow classes like a Paladin or a DK. So if you have more mobility, for example, I'm on my Druid, obviously, I can go into cat form, I can use dash. I'm making sure I'm grabbing ones near the edge of the room. So if we back up a little bit, you'll see me just kind of run out to the edge back here, because I, one, don't need to be doing damage and having uptime, but two, our melee don't want to have to run out because our Paladin's fairly immobile. So right after this cast, she'll cast Endless Torment. This is a part of the fight where it's pretty dangerous. It's pretty dangerous because not only are you taking damage from the Rite of Supremacy, that debuff that happened, you're also taking damage from the Endless Torment. And if you get caught in a swirl, you're probably going to die unless you get dispelled. So something that I like to do, I think I do it later in this fight, I don't remember. I go into my human form and I start casting Wild Growth and Rejuves on the group to make sure that they stay alive. Again, right after that cast finishes, we're back to Iron Spikes. That was the full cast sequence. It goes Iron Spikes into Rite of Supremacy into Endless Torment, and that is it. So pretty straightforward. The second Iron Spikes is coming out, I'm using Survival Instincts. As you can see, the first one came out at 30 seconds into the fight. This one's coming out at 35 seconds roughly. So you have, like I said and mentioned before, you have 30 seconds in between, so mapping out which cooldowns you're going to use. It is physical damage, so again, some things that mainly cater towards like magical damage aren't going to be that beneficial here. They're going to be more beneficial on the Rite of Supremacy cast. So I'm going to use Survival Instincts here, and I'm only going to have one charge of Iron Fur up, but that should cover me completely because Survival is such a massive DR, it's 50%. So after this, there's a little bit of downtime, and then she's going right back into the Rite of Supremacy cast. Now this time, because we have a second immunity in our group, Egg, our Paladin, is going to bubble here, which means that all of our DPS and myself will be trying to grab as many as possible. Here, me and the Hunter kind of collided in a corner, but as a tank player, I know that my health pool is, 40% bigger than his, so I can take a bigger hit. Also, I have more self-healing through like Frenzied Regen and Renewal, Health Pots, all that fun stuff. So I opt to grab a few, like a little bit less orbs there. So as you can see, Egg bubbles. Sakai had enough, our Hunter had enough orbs where it almost did no damage to him. I think he picked up 4 or 5 orbs, and then the rest of us picked up a little bit less. So that happened. It's going to follow by an Endless Torment. Endless Torment's going to channel up, and we're going to just be dodging these swirls here. So this ability is weird for Endless Torment. It does a couple things. It'll target players underneath their feet, and there's also points in the room that it will target as well. So some seem random and some seem targeted. It's because that is true. They're happening at the same time, and it's to make it seem kind of like a cluster, like a clusterfuck. So once that Endless Torment finishes, we're going right back into another Iron Spike. This time, Barkskin is back up. We're at a minute 15. It's like another 30-35 seconds, give or take, in between each Iron Spike. Barkskin is going to be active again. I have double stack of Iron Fur, and I'm going to be popping a Frenzied Regen to counter that. So making sure you can also heal through the pain that's coming in. I know some tanks can't heal as much as others. Saving your Expel Harm, saving a Word of Glory for yourself or Hand of the Protector, whichever one you're running, will help your healer out because they're trying to prepare for the burst damage that's coming out from Rite of Supremacy, followed by Endless Torment. So the tank is really, not on their own here, but they really have to be careful because if they dip too low, the healer won't be prepared to get it to help the group survive. So again, same thing happens here. We're actually using Aura Mastery as a damage reduction, like kind of raid cooldown, a group cooldown that's going to cover everyone. We're also popping some personals. We have Diffuse Magic up, and then the Rogue is immuning with Cloak of Shadows, which means while he was immuning with Cloak of Shadows, the 4 other people were allowed to get more orbs than normal. So as a tank player, you typically want to try to grab less. Your DPS are more important for surviving because you have more ways to survive a lot of damage. Another option here is if I wanted to, I could use Incarnation to get Frenzied Recharges or Frenzy Charges back, but I decided to hold it because the boss is almost dead. Because this was a fortified week, the boss fight was a lot shorter. It was a sub 2-minute kill on a 19. And any kind of tyrannical week, just assume that this is going to last roughly 30% longer, and the boss is going to be doing a little bit more damage. So tyrannical is where this really matters, honestly. Don't run Sanguine on tyrannical weeks. It's the worst. Actually, it's also really bad on fortified weeks. It's just a bad key in general. There's a lot of damage. But that's pretty much the fight. I hope that kind of covers it. It's pretty simplistic, but at the same time, like, you have to know how to rotate cooldown. So I think this is a good boss to talk about first, and that's why I did so. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you learned something, Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like content like this, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.